what's up, it's your girl, Rabbi K. I'm not sure what is happening, but my face is like breaking out into some kind of like mad rash and I'm not living for it. But however, the show must go on and I have a story for y'all. So I'm looking in the viewfinder and like my face is actually like splotchy and red. I don't like, it's been fine all day and now it's like super splotchy. Anyway, I don't care. It's like, you don't need to be gorgeous to tell a good story, you know? So yeah, sorry about my face. However, I'm going to tell you guys the story of when I got robbed. This is not clickbait, this is a story that happened to me. So if you would like to see the story, continue watching. I'm just gonna get short and straight to the point. I don't want this video to be like last week where it was like 20 minutes, so we'll have a good time, just chat on chat, mono e mono, quick catch up, if you will. So when I was 16, I used to work at a video store and I was there for a long time. I worked closely with my boss and my colleagues and everybody trusted me and everything was great, which is great. And they trained me up to be able to close the store and manage the store by myself. So that was fine. I'd been trained for a couple of weeks on how to do the close and count the tills and close the doors and blah, blah, blah. And I eventually came up to the day where I was supposed to do my first close. And a little bit of backstory just to like really set the scene. A couple of days before had a colleague like jump scare me behind the counter. So she like entered the room and I didn't really know she was supposed to be there because she was supposed to start, but I think she was a little bit early, and she like opened the door and I couldn't see anybody because she'd like crouched down behind the counter. And then so I like got back to doing my thing and she like jumped behind me and was like, "Bah!" And I was like, oh my God, because I was like freaking out already that I was going to get robbed because I just believe in the worst of everything and everyone. So that happened. And then like a couple of weeks before, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks before, my other friend at the time had like his hoodie like pulled up tight around his face so that he could only like show his eyes, and was like pointing his fingers like this in his pocket so it looked like he had guns. And he like came around the corner and was like, "Give me your money, you bitch," kind of thing, like into the store. And I was like, haha, good one. But flash forward back to the present day at the time. It was the day before I was supposed to be closing for my first time, and I had a dream that I got robbed. And I was like, it was like bang on. You know, I was doing my clothes, a guy came in, he was like, "Give me your money." I was like, oh my God, I'm so scared. I was like a little bit shaken by it because it felt so real. You know when you have dreams where they just like feel super real and you're like, holy shit, this is definitely going to happen. And not to say I'm a psychic or anything like that. I'm not trying to do the whole like, oh my God, you know, when you just have dreams and they happen. Like, I have had in the past, I had dreams that had happened the next day, like bang on, and they were nothing ever serious, but just like little coincidental things. So I was like, oh my God, like this is the future. And the day that I was meant to close, my boss was going to leave early, and he said, "Oh, you know, you're all set to close. Are you ready to do your first close?" I was like, yeah, I'm ready. And then I was like, I'm a little bit scared because I had a dream last night that I got robbed. And he was like, well, it was a dream, you'll be fine, like, you know, whatever, oh, get over it, bitch, kind of attitude. Obviously he wasn't like that, but you know what I mean. And I was like, okay, yeah, cool, like, no worries, it's just a dream. And then he left and he was fine and he left. And then, so that was about 7, I think, and we closed the store at 9. So I was there for like 2 hours by myself. I was like, yeah, this is fine, like, this is cool, this is all chill. Like that meme with the dog and the fires all around, and he's like, this is fine. It was like 10 minutes to close and I was like, you know, I survived, the dream didn't come true. And then these like 2 guys walk around the corner. So like the glass panel for the door was like here, and that was like onto the road. And he like came around past the glass panel so I could see him, and it was 2 guys. One was in a hoodie, like up to the top, like his hood up, but he also had like a shirt that was like imagine you've pulled your shirt up like this around your head, but it was a t-shirt. And he'd like tied the sleeves around so that like you could only see like this part. And I was like, oh, very, very creative. And the other guy I didn't really pay attention to because he was kind of like the lookout lurker in the background kind of guy. But the one that was like attacking came into the door, and at first I was like, because the thing with my friend like 2 weeks ago had just happened, so I thought maybe it was my friends just being silly, but I didn't like recognize their like body shape, I guess, so I was kind of like, who is this dickhead? And I'm like fully just like whatevs. He comes in and he does like this javelin jolt over the counter, so he's just like doosh over the counter. Like, very impressive sportsmanship. He had like this knife that was like a kitchen knife from like your mum's bloody wood block that was like this long, and I was like, holy shit, okay, he's on my side of the counter with a knife. And you know when you go through those like training things at work that are like, if somebody tries to rob you, you put your hands up and you don't try and be a hero and don't press the button and da da da. I've just like put my hands up, like what you're supposed to do, I guess. And he points the little knife at me. He was never gonna stab me, but he points his knife at me and he's like, where's the money? And it's like, where I'm from, it's just like the most Darrow place, like as far as like, it wasn't like I was dealing with a $400 million business and I had diamonds in my counter. Like I literally had like, I think they stole like $250 because I'd already balanced the float. So like, I've like, he's like, where's the money? And I'm like, in the till. Like, where else would the fucking money be, dickhead? And he's like, points the knife at it and goes, get it out. And I'm like, okay. So I like walk over and I like, ding, the fucking register opens. I was so like shocked that it was even real that I didn't even press the panic button, which is right next to the till button. And then he like scrambles this money and there's like a $5 note like falls to the floor very dramatically. And he like, I can't remember, I'm pretty sure he jumps back over the counter with his $200, like whoop-de-doo, and they disappear into the night. And I'm like, for fuck's sake, it was more of an inconvenience that I had to then deal with the repercussions of being robbed. So then like they've run off and I'm like, oh my God. So I had to like, I walked over to the panic duress button and I pressed it and then I'm like, fuck. So I've like gone over to the door, locked the door, and then kicker, there was a customer in the store. However, the customer was deaf, and the customer that was deaf was browsing along the back wall the whole time, so he didn't see me get robbed. Fuck off. So the deaf customer, I've been robbed, the counter's open, there's freaking money on the floor, the door is locked, and this deaf guy walks up to me and like hands me his things and he's like, hey, he's a regular. So I was like, oh, hi. And I'm like, fuck, how am I going to tell this guy that I've just been robbed? So I like grab a sticky note and I write sorry on it. I'm like, I've just been robbed. I need to lock you in the store with me as procedure. Do you mind hanging around? And he's like, fully like, almost probably wouldn't believe me. He's just like, what the hell? And he's like, you know, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, and all that shit. And so he's like, yeah, of course I don't mind kind of thing. So he's standing there and he like, because he was deaf, he was just doing the whole like kind of thing. And I'm like, fuck, how am I going to tell him how this happened? So he's like full on trying to engage in a conversation with me of like, what happened? How did you get robbed? So I have to like charade the robbery to him so that he knows that I'm like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. So I'm like doing the whole like, two guys came past two guys came past the window and then they jumped over the counter and stole the money. And he's like, what? It just was like, fucking kill me now. And so anyway, the police rock up because I've obviously called the police. I called my boss and I'm like, hey, I just got robbed. And he's like, what? I was like, yeah, I just got robbed with a knife. And he goes, did they take the money? Yeah, I'm fine, mate, thanks. So then he's like, okay, we'll call the police, like full on just like, you know, you'll get through it. 16-year-old me's just like been held up at knife point with a deaf guy that didn't see shit, that I'm locked in with me for whatever reason to be a witness of nothing. And then yes, I will call the police. So then I called the police rocked up. They walk in and they're like, you know, tell us the details of the incident. I'm like, yeah, cool. Friggin', they question the deaf guy and the deaf guy's just like, I'm deaf, I didn't see anything. And they're just like, get him out of here, he's fucking useless. I was like, good, I'm glad I kept him in here for 2 fucking hours, the poor bastard. They questioned me, I had to go back to the station, blah, blah, blah. And then literally, I think it was like 3 full hours. My boss ended up driving from where he lived, which was like, I think a 45-minute drive. It was ages away, the poor bugger. And then he had already been, I had been questioned, I had left, I had to go back to the station and make a full statement. But the friggin' duress company from earlier, when I pressed the duress button, took 3 hours to call and they were like, hey, we're just double checking that this wasn't an accidental press because we just figured that because it was like so late that it was not a real duress call. I was like, cool. Thanks, guys. I could have been, like, murdered and they would have just been like, oh, she probably accidentally pressed it. So anyway, that was one of the times that I got robbed. Repercussions of it, the guys were caught like a week later. Apparently they had done other things in the area. So, yeah, wankers. Like, honestly, $200. Probably ended up in jail for it, armed robbery, like, good on you. And now my rash has gone away, so very convenient that you get to stare at my rashy face for the entire video and then it clears up. Magic. Love that for me. So that's the end of my video. That's the end of the story. I cherish that story. It's a good one. I've told it many a time in my life, but I thought after 10 years, it's probably time I bring it to the tube. So I hope you enjoyed hearing about it. Let me know if you've ever been robbed. Hopefully you haven't. Or any kind of crazy experiences you've had. Like, comment, subscribe, buzzword, do all the stuff, you know, like the thing, click the bell, add the message, text me on the comments section. And I will see y'all bitches in my next video, which will be something else, obviously. Peace out, fam zone.